You guys are in for a special treat today. Welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast. We have a special guest, and the conversation is what every entrepreneur, leader, someone that has a vision of growing, this is a conversation that they need. Studies have shown that the quality of your life is really based about relationships. And today's guest goes into how to grow your relationships, amplify the connection. Today's guest is Nita. She is a serial entrepreneur. She is the founder of IRL. She is a TEDx organizer, executive coach, and human systems thinker. She works at the intersection of business, psychology, relationships, and community building. She has over 24 years of experience in business and 17 plus years in coaching, personal development, and human behavior. She helps people understand how relationships shape success, happiness, identity, and opportunity. She is the founder and CEO of IRL, a relationship OS designed to help people intentionally build and nurture relationships that compound through technology, community, and real life experiences. As a TEDx organizer and community builder, Nita has spent years creating spaces where people form meaningful conversations, trusted networks, and high quality connections beyond surface level networking. You guys are going to love today's conversation. I think it's something we really need to talk about, especially in the day and age of parasocial relationships. We're building our businesses, we're online all the time, but how do we create community that impacts us, that makes us feel supported, that creates the village that we all are desperately craving, especially as we reconnect back to ancient wisdom and a system and structure that doesn't require us to burn out. So please welcome Nita to the Rise to Her podcast. Nita, welcome to the Rise to Her podcast. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Emily, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you here. And you are calling in from quite literally across the globe. Can you tell our listeners where you're calling in from?
Yes, so I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand at the moment. And yeah, it's just amazing that we have the technology to talk to anyone in the world.
I know. I think this ability to connect via Zoom is really special, especially in the age of business, right? Because it can allow us to connect with people that we typically would never literally be in the same room as. And I find it really important to continue to embrace those relationships because there's so many people that are seeing the negative aspects of social media and those parasocial relationships. But I'm really excited for our conversation today because we're going to talk about how to invest in those interpersonal relationships, how to connect more in real life. And it doesn't have to be this black or white. There's only one right way to connect. And I think it's really important for us to embrace all types of connections. I know that's something that you're really passionate about. But before we get into the difference between like parasocial and in-person relationships, can you give us a little bit more about your background? I read the bio before we jumped on, but you spent a lot of time in corporate world. So like L'Oreal, Unilever, before you moved into like the coaching and therapy space. What was that moment that you started to realize that relationships were what you wanted to center your work around?
Yeah, so it was many years after I left the corporate world. So I actually spent 5 years. So it's compared to my life in the psychology world, it wasn't actually a long time. So after I finished my master's degree, I started to work for L'Oreal. So that was like my first real job. So as a product manager, brand manager, just working in the marketing department and responsible for all these brands. And I knew that corporate world was not for me, but I stuck with it for 5 years. And then I left and I started to get into the psychology world by starting a child development center. So I married my first boyfriend. I had a son and I just wanted to get into a business where I could raise him. And I fell in love with psychology. That was a really big, turning point for me because I never realized that I was into psychology. Even though it's quite common for an entrepreneur or someone in marketing to love psychology, I didn't realize at that time, but I knew at that point that I had to do something with psychology. So I would go on to spend the following next 18 years going into a rabbit hole and studying like every single modality that I could get my hands on. So I got trained and certified at the highest level with the International Coaching Federation. I even had a coaching school. I trained and mentored other people so they could get certified by the ICF. And I became a business executive coach. I also got trained to be a couples therapist, family systems therapist, sex therapist. So I'm really someone that's passionate about psychology, whether it's related to professional growth or personal growth and relationships. I think it was like in that 18 years, the last few years, I felt that I was hitting like a ceiling. It wasn't challenging for me anymore. There was no like new modality to learn and challenge myself anymore. And I was just always interested in the startup world. And I was always interested in apps. I download a bunch of apps that could help me live a more efficient and effective life and do things more efficiently. And I always was looking for an app that would help me with relationship building and meeting new people and managing my relationships, the relationships that I had. Like I wanted a system to help me manage it, almost like a personal CRM. And I probably throughout the years tried out like 30 apps in total, but nothing, some apps would help me solve part of the problem, part of bits and pieces of the problem, but not the entire problem. And so that leads me to the third chapter of my life in terms of career and business. And I built this entire app called IRL. And it's the way I explain it is it's like a relationship OS. It's like second brain for your relationships, and not just any relationships, but the relationships that matter to you. So this is not like a sales CRM platform. It's not for your 7,000 connections on LinkedIn. It's not for your 5,000 connections on email, but it's like on average, I would say the 150 to 1,000 relationships in your life that you want to nurture and you want to keep in your life. So it doesn't matter. It could be your best friend. It could be your family members. It can be your acquaintance, your colleague, your people from your old workplace, people from college. But they are the people that you want to focus your energy and you want to invest your time in nurturing these relationships, which belong to different categories. You don't want to be best friends with everyone, right? But you should invest your time in these different categories in a way that's aligned with the quality of those relationships, and whether you categorize them as inner circle or close or nurturing or colleague or acquaintance. I think people should be very clear on what category those relationships belong to so that you can invest in a very conscious and intentional way. And also have realistic expectations about those relationships. Because I know that it's a common thing when people kind of expect everybody to be your best friend and everybody to treat you like a best friend would treat you. But if you're very objective about it, you'll see that not everybody is your best friend. And come on, everybody cannot be your best friend. You're not everybody's best friend, right? So I'm all about solving this whole everything that's related to relationships. I'm very passionate about it. And even when I was in the psychology world, I've been thinking about these apps like for more than 15 years because I was a super introvert. And I went from super introvert to super connector. And now I'm like building all these things. I'm a community leader. I'm building a membership-based community built on integrity and doing this app called IRL and also a TEDx organizer. Like all these things are kind of the same thing. It looks like I'm doing so many things, but it's actually the same thing to me. Almost like when I was in the coaching world, it's kind of unusual for someone to be a business and executive coach and also be a sex therapist and couples therapist at the same time. But again, to me, it was the same thing. It's psychology. It's just different branches of psychology. And now I guess it's kind of the same thing again, whether you're building a TEDx community or you're getting people to use this app that will help them with their relationships and become better people and become better and more skillful at the building real, genuine relationships. To me, it's like all the same thing. It's really the same thing, just like different projects, like 5 or 6 projects, but like it's all part of the same mission, which is helping humans realize how important relationships are and why you need to be conscious and intentional about it. And these are the strategies that you should use to be better at relationships and have better relationships in your life. And this really came full circle because it actually started with a TED Talk. And the name of the talk I think everybody should watch it, is What Makes a Good Life. And it's based on Harvard's longest running study on adult development. They've been doing it for like 87 years, I believe. They followed like 4 or 5 generations of people to find out what is the number one factor that supports a human being to live a long, healthy, and happy life. And it's not the food that you eat. It's not going to the gym. It's actually the quality of the relationships in your life. And I believe I watched that talk 10 years ago, and I didn't really do anything. I was like, okay, that's very interesting. I need to work on my relationships, but I didn't do anything for many years. But this talk really stayed with me. And I was a super introvert. Everybody might not be able to see me as a super introvert. I actually am an introvert, and I just cared about studies and work. I was a complete nerd. And I didn't even know, if you asked me many years ago, how would I build a network or my inner circle? I didn't know how to do any of that, because when you don't know, you really don't know. And during COVID, I realized that, hey, I have lots of people. It's not that I don't have friends, but they're friends from college. They're friends from my old workplace. And it's not that I don't get along with them, but they're not my people, And I just felt lonely. And this was COVID. We were stuck in our homes for years, right? And it really made me realize that I was lonely. So I decided, I was a coach. So what does a coach do? We create goals for ourselves, right? So I decided to, hey, I'm going to add 100 people to my inner circle. And I wrote it on a Post-it. I stuck it on the door. And I'm like, I'm going to add 100 people. I have no idea whether I'm going to achieve it or not, but let's set a goal. Let's see how far we can go with this. So that's how everything started. Yeah.
You've mentioned these words, inner circle, colleague, best friend. And so I want to take a moment to give us a working definition, because this is so critical, especially for those of us that are dedicated to having a more well world, a better life, a good life, a business. Can you break down the categories that you're naming and how those function and how to tell the difference?
Yeah, sure. So I'll share, hopefully this is useful, but I actually grade my connections. So I grade my friendships. It's like in the schooling system, a grade A, B, and C. These are all my friends. I consider them friends. They have my best interests at heart. They are kind, genuine people. Just what's the difference between the A, B, and C? Just different lifestyles and different levels of closeness, right? So your A's are people that are like family. They would call you at 3 a.m. and you would go and help them with whatever crisis they have. And same, if you had a crisis at 3 a.m., they would help you as well. They would just come and help you. The B's are maybe less close, but maybe a colleague from your previous workplace that you kind of hang out from time to time, but not your most closest friends, right? And then the C is just less close. So I don't have a fixed system for everyone to follow. I just share my system, and then you can adjust and adapt however you find useful for you, right? And then for me, there's the D. The D is it's a failing grade. It's actually a failing grade, right? In university. So D's are people that you can kind of work with. It might be that person at your workplace that you don't fully trust because they've done something for you to not trust them. Maybe they said something bad behind your back, or maybe it's just this kind of, I don't know, something, that they don't have your best interest at heart, but you can kind of work with them. So that's the D. And the F is definitely a failing grade. So these are people that you actually don't even want in your life, people that are very dangerous, I would say. So they're dangerous. They're just really dangerous people, and they could do harmful things to you. So these are the Fs, right? And then there's the G. G is general acquaintances. And I think people should understand what's the difference between a friend and an acquaintance, right? Because a lot of people end up calling acquaintances their friends, and having the expectation that they should treat you like you are their friends. But actually, when they talk about the relationship, I'm like, hey, it doesn't sound like they are your friend. It sounds like it's just an acquaintance, right? And so acquaintance, what is an acquaintance? It's people that you know their name, you know what they do, but you're not very close with them, and you don't really... You could care about their well-being, but it's not like this mutual connection where hey, I would go out of my way to help and support you. Yeah. If somebody fits that description, then they are your friend, right? I think most people would agree that If somebody cares about you and would go out of their way, even in a very inconvenient circumstance, they would go and help you. That's a friend, right? Now, if someone says, I wouldn't go out of my way to help you, I'll help you if it's convenient for me, I wouldn't categorize that person as a friend. I would say that's just an acquaintance, a person that's trying to do good, like in general in the world, right? And they can be that and not be your friend. But a lot of people, they never think about this. And so they kind of mix up the acquaintance category with the friendship category. And it sets you up for failure because not everybody can be your friend. It's just not logical. It's just not logical for everyone to be your friend. And then there's the W. The W is like a category that I kind of created later on. The W is kind of like vetting. Vetting. Like you're vetting. You just met this person. You don't have to put them in any category yet. You're just vetting them. So that's placeholder for someone where you don't know whether they're going to be a D or a F or a G or a C or whatever yet. And so those are the categories, the grading system that I go with. And I think everybody can just kind of invent their own system, write out all the connections you have. And if you had to categorize them into different categories, what would they be? And you don't even have to do this by yourself. Go to Claude, go to any AI and talk to your AI and get your AI to help you categorize all these connections, right? I go a little bit above and beyond, and I have this like friendship tracker. I create an internal tool called the People OS. It's basically an internal website that I use for collecting all the connections and putting all the details of everyone and what projects and what businesses they are involved with. So it's kind of like my own yellow page, yellow page book for all the connections, all the friends and all the connections I have in life. And that's my way of being able to manage everybody in a systematic way. So when I host dinners, I'll go to this list and I'll invite these people. And if you don't have that system, then it's very hard for you to remember people and think of people, right? So I shared with you earlier that I'm building an app called IRL. So that's kind of what it's for. And People OS is a different thing. That's an internal tool that I use to manage all the business contacts, like all the people that are kind of linked to me professionally and personally for the business side. Yeah. But IRL is going to be that kind of solution for everyone. So everyone can download the app and use it in that way. Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if that answered your question. I can talk more about the categories as well. Yeah.
No, it did. You mentioned that you had a goal of adding 100 people to your inner circle. What does that mean, inner circle? Does that include acquaintances? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like for me, if I have to manage an additional 100 relationships, I'm like, that seems really overwhelming and exhausting. How do I make sure that I'm showing up? Because like, I can't talk on the phone with 100 people a week. Like, I don't even want to do that, right? So what did that mean for you? And how did you make that a functioning goal?
Yeah. So 100 inner circle means different things to different people. So I'll share what it actually meant to me. When I share with people that, hey, I wanted to add 100 people to everybody goes like, are you like, wow, how 100 people? That's a lot, right? And I kind of get a similar reaction from everybody. But now that I've actually done it, I don't know, in my mind, it wasn't like a lot of people at that time. Like, I didn't know how I was going to achieve it. But to me, like, I don't know how I came up with that number. It was just like a very intuitive thing. And so like, I would want to have 100 people in my life, added to my life. So inner circle doesn't mean like 100 best friends. For me, inner circle, like 100 people in my inner circle means the people that I care about and care about me. And we might speak once every quarter. We might even at busy times might even hang out once a year. Maybe we meet. I have this athlete friend and I'm not an athlete. So it's very hard for me to do activities with her because she's athletic and she's going and doing like Ironman and like crazy sportsy stuff. And I don't do that. So our lifestyles don't really go together, but she will have these like New Year parties where she invites like 20 people that are in her inner circle. And I get invited to that. So I see her every December. And sometimes I'll try to like, hey, let's meet up for coffee or dinner or something. So we might meet 2 or 3 times a year, but she's my inner circle. Okay. Meaning if there's anything I can help her with, she could call me and I will help her. And same thing. It's vice versa. So it's people that share common values, core values, and that's kindness, respect, generosity, high integrity people that are true givers. These people, like intellectually curious, growth-minded, purpose-driven, belong in that group of inner circle. And there are other people that are in that circle that I talk to on a weekly basis, some weeks on a daily basis. And so those people, maybe I work with them, maybe, there's more opportunities for us to talk about things. But as you can see, it's quite a wide range, but there's a commonality. There's a common denominator, and they're all kind, generous, high integrity, and true givers.
Yeah.
And all these people, I call them part of my inner circle.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's really critical for us to like drive home the point of sharing those common values. I talk a lot in my work about soul values. So like our soul contract that we came here with, and like it's very unique to how we live our lives. But there are going to be really common points of like, oh, how do you view the world? Like from the outside, like, are you showing up for people? What decisions are you making? Is it from a place of really trying to grow the world, better the world, or is it maybe internally focused and selfish? And really working and understanding that it's okay not to be friends, not to be connected with people that don't share those energetic similarities, because that is then going to become an energetic leak. Have you had people in your life that you're like, oh, I thought that they were like A, B, or C, and I realized that they were an F? And like when you realize that, how did you go about maybe wrapping up that connection without it being a big blow up? Especially, as running multiple businesses, is really critical that we do this in a kind way.
Yeah, I love that question because I feel like people don't like to talk about the uncomfortable things, right? And as someone that I'm a really kind person, I might not look like I'm a highly sensitive person, but I am. I'm really highly sensitive, like in a way that might not be how you typically describe a highly sensitive person. But like, for example, if I go and watch Disney cartoons, like movies, I cry almost every animation, every movie, every Pixar movie, I will cry because there's always that moment in the movie, right? Where it's like, wow, that was so touching. That was so beautiful. And I'm just someone that and all my friends are like this, and I think you can relate to this. I just want to do the right thing. Yeah. And even if someone is mean towards me or tries to take advantage of me, I still want to treat them in a way that's aligned with who I am and how I want to be. So I will still treat them with dignity and kindness and respect, even though they haven't done the same thing, right? Because of that psychology background, I know that you're not born in this world and say like, hey, I want to be a mean person or I want to be a bad person, right? It's just really your conditioning. And so that actually is something that makes me struggle in life sometimes in a way where like, I understand why they are that way and how do I set the boundaries and kind of like not keep on giving them the benefit of the doubt over and over again. And actually, it's really interesting that you asked me that question because maybe this month, within the span of the past 2 months, I have had to put 6 people in my WhatsApp archive. And this is another strategy that I should talk about. And people find it really like, wow, it's such a simple strategy, but so useful. So I think most people know that WhatsApp has an archive and you can archive different chats, group chats, one-on-one chat in the archive, right? And then it's like gone out of your way and you don't have to see all these like notifications on your main chat, right? So I had to put these 6 people in the archive because they did something that was not respectful, not responsible. Either they said they were going to do something that was related to work, but they didn't, and they kept making excuses for it. Or they did something very disrespectful and even mean and cruel to me or my friends. And they were related in terms of they were working on a project with me. And so I was connected with them as well, So, and then there were cases where I thought these people were going to be like best friends, like they had the potential. And I do a lot of thinking and introspecting when it comes to these things. Like I really reflect and like what went on in that relationship and what happened. And I sometimes get it wrong when someone shows up and they seem to be very passionate about what they're doing, very intelligent, very well spoken, and they kind of are really good at pretending to be a really great friend. So that kind of throws me off. even though I'm super good at reading people. And I noticed that it's the relationships of these people that you meet online. So you haven't met them in real life yet. You met them online and they're kind of like telling you all these things and they want to help you and da da da. So you kind of think that, oh, this person, and because you're an honest person, you don't think anybody lies and you don't think anybody pretends, right? So that's where I kind of get it wrong. But then when you meet up with them in real life, then you start to notice that's when it's really hard to lie and pretend, because your body language, your actions will speak louder than your words. So you can show up on a Zoom call and say, hey, I want to support you. I want to be your great friend. I want to da-da-da, but it's just talk. But then when you show up in real life and you're not actually walking the talk and you're not doing those things. So what I realized from these relationships, it's that they wanted to benefit from my connections. And like, you know, as I became a TEDx organizer, people already warned me that, hey, something that's going to come with that is like people will want to get their fame through this TEDx stage, right? So I was already aware that this was going to be something that was going to happen. So that's just an example. But of course, as an entrepreneur, as someone that has like lots of connections, people will want to get that from you. And that's fine. But when it's like, they're here to take things, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a genuine connection. It's just them wanting to benefit from your connections. It will show. And my experience is it will show after 2 or 3 in real life interactions. You will see it. But if you meet them online, then you can, you know, you don't see their actions yet. It's just words. So what did I actually do with these people? I put them in the WhatsApp archive. I'm not angry at them. I don't, you know, it's just that these people, I don't want to invest my time in them. Yeah. And I have helped them over and over again. And I can start to see that they don't really appreciate it. And it's a one-sided thing, you know, where I'm giving, and I'm fine. I'm really glad if I can help people. I don't even need anything in return. But then it reaches a point where you really feel like someone's just there to take advantage of you. Yeah. And I think that when you're a kind, empathetic person, you just want to help people, sometimes you are slow to realize that someone is in a relationship just to take advantage of you because you're not thinking of getting anything from them. You're just like there to help. And you get so busy thinking of how you're going to help them. Yeah. And they keep asking you for favors and things like that. And you just keep helping them. You don't realize that, hey, this person doesn't actually want to be friends with you. They're just trying to get these things. And so I don't really do anything. I just put them into the archive. There's no anger, no hatred, no anything. And I believe that if it's not absolutely necessary, you shouldn't block anyone. And this is a view from the family systems therapy perspective, that when you block someone, it's a negative energy that goes out into the world and you have to carry that negative energy. And you actually, I think you think more about that person when you block them rather than not do anything, right? I think you should want to get to the point where you feel indifferent, not hatred, not angry, not all those negative energies. And you don't have to block them. The only reason you should want to block someone if they're harassing you, they're not respecting your boundaries, then you might have to block them, right? But that's kind of how I handle these relationships. And, you know, if they try to like, hey, how are you? And I'll just answer them with like, they're in the archive, so I don't really check the archive. But from time to time, I do go into the archive and see what's going on with the group chats, because all the group chats are in the archive. I don't want to see the group chats in my main feed because it's very distracting. And so sometimes if I go in and I see their message, I'll kind of reply. If they're asking me like what's up or whatever, I'll say like what's really going on in my life. I'll say like a short sentence or a few words. But basically through what I say, I'm trying to signal to them that, hey, we're not close anymore and I don't want to engage in this relationship. And most of the time they will get it. They will understand that. You know, I'm not engaging anymore. So that's how I handle it. I don't know if it's the best way, but that's how I do it.
No, it's super, super helpful to hear those systems from other folks. And I know a lot of people that are in my world are very intuitive. They're very spiritual. They love being with the flow. And I could imagine, as I'm like tapping into the collective energy of my community, this resistance that might pop up about creating a system for relationships. And what's coming through is a reminder that everything needs system and structure to allow it to flow. And if we want to have deeper, closer relationships, we must have a system to manage those. And this revulsion, this pushing away of systems and structures is valid, especially because we've been given structures that are very patriarchal in nature, capitalistic in nature, and harmful. But recognizing that when we create the structure, just like you did, Nita, with like, oh, I do this so that I can manage and show up for my people, that then allows you to be able to love folks better. That allows you to be able to have those reparative relationships instead of just like leaving it up to chance and hoping that your human brain remembers all of these things. Because at the end of the day, we're a human that has their own shit, that has their own stressors, that has their own life. And to be able to manage these deeper connections, you have to be intentional about it. So I love the way that you took a step back and said, how can I show up for the people in my life in a way that's going to allow me to be a better friend, a better colleague, a better acquaintance? And then be able to say, oh, when I do want to send out cards to my friends, when I do want to plug someone in with a connection, I have a place to go and say, beautiful, these are the connections that I can do. And these are the people I really want to invest in. I think that's a really beautiful way. And it's an excellent example of that divine masculine energy to allow you to show up and love and care and nurture, right? You can't do that if you don't have the structure, if you don't have the safety, and you don't know who's safe or reciprocal in nature. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high. The plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside.
Exactly. I love the way you summarize everything. And like something that's very easy to just implement is I encourage everyone to do an audit on their relationships, right? And now we have AI. You can get AI to help you and really have a think about like who are the people that you want in your life. And I think we really need to be intentional about it because I see lots of like, even my coaching clients, they are spending so much time on the category D's and F's because the D's and the F's will be it will consume a lot of your time, right? There's a lot of drama, a lot of toxicity involved. And then you end up spending all the time you have that you could have spent on your ABCs, you're spending it on the D's and the F's. It consumes like so much of your time and your energy that you could have used in a more positive way with the right relationships. Yeah. And so that's why I encourage everyone to put all the chats that are not serving you, that when you look at that app, that specific chat group or that specific person, do you feel good? Do you feel good about yourself? Does that person make you feel better about yourself? Does it make you feel like energized or does it make you feel a bit sad or anxious, right? That's how you will know whether you should put them in the archive or not. And you're not blocking them. You can still talk to them. They won't know, right? But you take them out of your main feed on your WhatsApp, right? And therefore, you won't get distracted by these other chats and you can focus on replying and responding to the people that actually matter to you in life. Yeah. And I have quite a reputation for being very responsive on text messages, specifically WhatsApp, because I have that system. And since I've told many people about putting people in the archive, I know that some people that are really kind and empathetic, they feel bad. They feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it's kind of mean to put them in the archive. They don't know about it. And this is about actually, it's the kindest thing you can do for yourself because you're making space for the right relationships.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a better person in all those relationships because you put those other wrong relationships in the archive. You're making space for the right ones so that you show up in a better way with better energy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so oftentimes I feel like I have to reframe this to my clients that are more like, oh, that's not kind. That's not whatever. And yeah, I think that sometimes when people are mean or not reciprocal, like they have to learn. This is a social skill that, hey, you can't keep taking things from people if you're not going to give back, you know?
Yeah.
And either you give them feedback or you show them in a way, you know, like they learn from them for themselves. And I think that, you know, we have to all learn our lessons in order to become better human beings.
Absolutely.
And I think that letting them get the feedback is the best way for them to learn, right? Yeah. So
Absolutely. No, you nailed it right there. And you mentioned how so many folks are spending their time on their D's and F's, and it's that energetic leak. And it's like, oh my God, you're then not having the energy to show up for the A, B's, and C's in your life, and you're not being able to be your best self. And I think a lot of that comes from this fear of rupture, right? I have a background working in child welfare and working in therapeutic like systems and in home with families that are going through some really turbulent things. And we talk a lot about this opportunity for rupture that then results in repair. But we have especially in certain generations, this like, if you've done me wrong one time, I'm cutting you off and I'm not going to have you in my life. Or on the other hand, it's like, well, they've been going through a lot. I know they keep doing this, but I just understand that they're going through a lot. And so we're in these like really distinct boxes instead of saying, oh, I recognize people are human. They're going to maybe make mistakes. They're going to have bad days. They're going to be mean every now and again. And I can say, Nita, that really hurt my feelings. And like, I care about our relationship and I wanted to bring that up to you versus other folks that you're like, whoa, okay, I see this pattern and I'm not feeling really safe in this, so I'm just going to let this go. I'm not going to invest in it versus I'm going to bring this up to Nita because I'm going to allow us to have this rupture because I deeply care about our relationship. And I want us to be able to be on mutual ground to say, what was your perception of that? And how can I show up for you better? Because obviously there was something going on and here's what I need from you. And I think your system allows you to be able to have those ruptures and repairs in a safe manner, but not everyone's safe, obviously.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really helpful for people, especially if you're kind, empathetic, spiritual, and all these things, is two things can be true at the same time, right?
Yes.
Someone, your connections or your acquaintances, they can be a good person and they can also not be your friend.
Yes.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make, you know, they're not rejecting you because you're a bad person or anything like that. Sometimes, like, I'll just give an example. Me and all my really close friends are very responsive, like communicative, right? Yeah. If I send them a voice note, 3 or 5 voice notes about random things, they will get back to me. They might get back to me today or tomorrow, but they will get back to me. So someone that doesn't respond to my message for like weeks, and especially if it's something important, right? Okay. And I've learned that sometimes they are a good person. They're not bad people, right? They're good people, but they're just really bad texters and they're not communicative. And for me, it just would be very hard for me to maintain a relationship with these people.
Yeah.
And totally. So I learned that it's just not going to work for me and we can be acquaintances. But then it really helps me to not have those high expectations for these people. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I would actually suffer. I would be like, why? I really like this person. I really want to be best friends with this person, but they're not responding to me. And they've like left me unread like for like a week or 2 now. And they haven't got back to me. Do they not think I'm important to them? Or like, you know, it can feel like really disappointing. But if you look at that and you're like, yeah, they're a good person, but whatever, their behavior is just not aligned with someone that's going to be your best friend.
Yeah.
And then you can just look at the whole thing like objectively, and you'll have realistic expectations, and you'll like know how to show up in that relationship. You won't kind of overgive, otherwise you'll keep on giving, and like, why is there no, reciprocity here? And then you'll be disappointed. And with all that time and energy that you spent there, you could have invested in the other relationships that you have. So I've noticed that there are most people I would say that are respectful will be responsive, whether email or text, right? Of course, there can be things that are happening in people's lives. I understand that. But then if something is a pattern and they don't think they want to change it, right? I think it's your responsibility now to ask yourself, is this the type of relationship you want to be in?
Yeah.
And they can be a good person. You're not labeling them bad person or whatever. They can still be a good person, but whatever, their behavior is just not aligned with someone you can be in a relationship with.
Yeah.
Whatever that kind of relationship is,
Yeah, beautifully said. And I want to take this time to also let this be a lesson for ourselves of how do we want to show up in relationship. There's shadow to us as well, from the spiritual, energetic perspective. And if we see something being reflected externally, right? So within, so above, right? So above, so below, it is an opportunity for us to show up and say, okay, where can I refine how I'm showing up? Where can I refine my expectations, my energetic leaks? Am I having a huge open energetic portal in my field for this particular person, and it's like draining me dry, and recognizing that that's not fair to put that on them, and that's not fair to myself. Mm-hmm. I think this is an awesome opportunity for doing that audit, taking a look and saying, where do I want to refine how I show up and my expectations for other people? And that is going to set us up for being able to show up in the relationships and be the person that we want to be in our businesses, in our relationships, in our families. And so I want to take a minute. I know we're getting on time, but I'm curious if you can give us some advice on how us entrepreneurs can build both deep relationships and broad networks without it feeling transactional. Like, how can we have both of those things? And, you talked on it a little bit more, but if we know there are people that we want to do business with, but we don't want a best friend, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So I had several interesting conversations about this topic. And actually, I want to talk about one of the TEDx speakers. His name is Paul Ark. And so he was one of the TEDx speakers at our previous event in April. And his topic was not mansplaining gender funding gaps to women entrepreneurs. So he works in the climate VC space and he supports women. And he was just talking about this whole thing about broad relationships and deep relationships and how women are just so great at building deep relationships. Mm-hmm. But in this world, most VCs are men, right? And research shows us that mixed gender teams get funded the most.
Yeah.
And women and men, if we're just going to talk about just for simplicity, right? Women have their strengths and men have their strengths, and both have their kind of the pros and cons, right? So that's why mixed gender teams do better, because you have the pros and cons and you kind of complement each other. And he was talking about how men are just really great at building these broad networks, because they don't think too much like women do. Like, oh, I have to be best friends with everybody I do business with. Men are just not like that. And women are like, I have to like and love every single person I meet and work with, but men are not like that. And that's why they are able to open more doors. And if, 1 or 2% of businesses, teams with women leaders get funded only 1 or 2% of, all the investment that is available in the world, then we need to change something, right? And that's where his talk tells us to, hey, go and build that broad network, because you need it, because that broad network is going to open doors to so many things for you. And that's when I was already helping him create that talk, right? So I was listening to it again and again. I was like, yeah, I need to do something about it. I do have lots of male friends, but 80% of my friends are women.
Yeah.
And I literally did a post on Instagram and Facebook saying like, hey, I need more male friends in my life. So, reach out to me if you have a guy friend that you think would be a great match for me. Like, this is not for dating. This is just platonic. I want to have more guy friends in my life. So I was, again, back to that adding 100 people to my inner circle. I put it out there. I was very intentional. And now I think I added around 15 to 20 new guy friends within the span of several months, right? And there are several strategies to do that. But basically, you need to think about where you're meeting people, how you're meeting people, and who you want to meet. And for me, how I started, as just shared with you, I just got in the startup space not long ago, right? I'm transitioning from the psychology world to a startup world, and it's very different. And what I did was I said I don't really go to networking events, but this was like the exception because you're trying to get into a new world. So I did go to like a startup association thing, but I do choose which network to go to, which networking event to go to. And luckily, this event that I went to, it's run by really good people. I could tell they have high standards. They are people of high integrity. They have high work ethics. So I was really lucky that I think I went to 3 or 4, and this specific one I really liked, and I could tell that it was very different. So I said to myself, I'm not going to any other community or networking event in terms of for startup founders anymore. I'm just going to go to this one. And if I have time, I will continue to go to this one. But if I have limited time, a better strategy for me, someone that is super busy, is to find connections through the people I already know.
Yes. Okay.
So people that I already know in the startup world, hey, can you refer me to other friends of yours or other people that are founders or that have a tech background and all that? And another strategy is Bordy AI. So some of your listeners might know Bordy AI or might not know Bordy AI, but Bordy AI is a matchmaker, an AI matchmaker that helps. It was created because Andrew, the founder of Bordy AI, wanted to decentralize capital. So usually the startups that get funded are because the founders have good connections.
Yeah.
Right. And we see a ton of startups that get funded because they have those connections, but it was a terrible idea. Right. At the same time, at the same time, there are people that don't have the connections, but they have a brilliant idea that is really solving a real problem, but they don't get funded. So this is not good for the world. This is not good for humanity, right? So he wanted to solve, this is just my understanding of what I've read about it. So he wanted to decentralize and find a better way so that the right startups would get the right funding, right? So he created this thing called Bordy AI. It lives in your WhatsApp. And it just it does a voice interview with you. You get on a call, you talk about what you're looking for, the kind of connections you're looking for. And I haven't really been looking for VCs or people to invest in my business, but I've been looking for community leaders. Yeah. Right. And it has connected me with brilliant people, like amazing people that are true givers, people that just show up on a Google Meet and say hey, how can I help? Really good energy. And I've met up with a few people already, and I live in Bangkok. So most users are in Northern America, not even here, but I've already met up with so many people that I would never have met them if it wasn't for this AI. So everything can open doors for you. I have many great friends that I met because they messaged me on LinkedIn. They connected with me on LinkedIn and sent me a message. Hey, let's have coffee. Yeah. That's where it started. So you have to be really good at discerning and knowing the type of people you want to have in your life, and you will get better at it. Some people say I'm just very bad at vetting people. You observe it. Be very conscious and intentional about it. You will learn. You will learn and you will get very good at recognizing the signs of what that kind of person looks like and how they show up. And to me now, it's just getting easier and easier, right? Because I've been very intentional about it. I think a lot about it. I'm observing people's behaviors and how they show up. Do they walk the talk? Are they givers? Are they people of high integrity? And what are the signs of someone that is high integrity, right? And yes, so those are kind of the strategies that I use. I don't really go to networking events because I'm really busy at the moment. But if I do have time, it could be something that I go to, like that specific startup association event that I was telling you about. But you don't want to go to every random event. There's so many events out there. You shouldn't be doing that because you're wasting your time and your energy. And then you get very discouraged when you get into the wrong events with the wrong crowd, right? So it's just, you're not going to meet the right people and you'll be wasting energy that you could have invested elsewhere in the right relationship, right event. And those are kind of like the strategies that I use. And I think that, like going to the startup association event, I'll just give an example. I met like 20 really great men there at the first event that I went to. And I'm sure if I got to talk to more, I would meet more. But I really maxed out my energy that day and I met like 20. And that kind of like is aligned with the goal that I wanted to add more male friends because most people in the startup space are men, right? But more importantly, I got connected to tech people and startup people and people that were building like me because it's a really lonely journey and you really want to talk to people that are on the same journey as you are.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And I would say that those people, the 20 people that I met, are mostly acquaintances. Like none of them have become my best friend. None of them. Because it's just like you met them, you talk to them, and they could like, if you need help, you could reach out to them, but still they are in the acquaintance category. Sure, if I had more time and they had more time to bond and to get to know each other, I'm sure that more than half of them could be my best friend. They could be like in my category A and B and C for sure. But to be honest, we don't have that much time.
Right. It's limited. Right? That is a limited resource.
It's limited. It's limited. And I already have these like 300 people in nurturing here. And so you don't have to be best friends with everybody. But I personally believe that everybody that you bring into your life, into your circle, whatever, inner circle, broad circle, whatever, for me, the rule is they have to be good people. They have to be people of integrity. They have to be kind. And the one thing that you were mentioning earlier, the absolute like rule of thumb for me is they have to be people that want to do good for the world. They want to leave the world a better place than how they found it. So that's like, if I would say one thing, that's it. That's the one thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't want to be partnering and working with people that are not like that, because at the end of the day, even if they get the work done, I won't feel great about myself for being in that relationship. And it will cost me in other ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. That energetic currency is crucial. I love this. Nita, this conversation is exactly what the community is needing. A reminder to put yourself out there, prioritize relationships, right? We get so stuck on how do we make more money? How do we grow our business? But it's like that is done in relationship, in community. I just put out a podcast last week and it was on the village archetype and how showing up for your village is sometimes inconvenient. And what a privilege it is to be inconvenienced by the people that we get to love, we get to show up for. And that is how you ultimately, in this day and age, in the age of AI, where things feel really fabricated, very parasocial, like it's so critical to spend your time and energy investing in the people around you, prioritizing those things. And so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I know you are working on IRL, your app that I'm super stoked about coming out. I cannot wait to use it. It's not on the App Store yet, but where can people go and get on the wait list so that they can know when to download it?
Yes, so they can go to joinirl.app. That's joinirl.app and just sign, put your name there, your email, what city, what country do you live in. And when it's on the App Store, I will email and let everybody know. Yeah. Beautiful. And then, if you want to connect with me, you can follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, Nita Lert Official. I'll share with you the links. And just text me or connect with me. I'm open to connecting with new people on these two platforms. Yeah. I'm excited to launch the app and help people become better at their relationships.
Yes, I am really stoked to share this with the community. I'm excited to explore the app when it comes out and continue to prioritize the relationships, really look at my energy and see where I can shift, where I can show up better, where I can reframe those expectations. Thank you for this super enlightening conversation. It was such a blessing. I cannot wait for the community to receive this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram @rise2her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.